10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I got framed by this guy who picked up hitchhiking.
Do you believe me?
Do I look like a killer to you? Oh. Don't you know who he is? My mother told me never to do this. What are you looking at me like that for?
The terror starts the moment he stops. The Hitcher.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to It's Only Talk and Roll at the Movies, the show where we do a deep dive into the films that shaped our culture and rocked our world. It took me ages to write that, you know.
Hey, man, this one definitely rocks people's worlds, no doubt.
I am your host. Insert your name here. I am your host.
Hey, Joe. All right, Sleepy Joe. We got you.
I am your host at 70s Rock Fan, and today we've got a real thrill ride in store for you all. We're taking a journey down a desolate highway with the 1986 cult classic The Hitcher, directed by Robert Harmon, starring C. Thomas Howell, and Rutger Hauer and Jennifer Jason Leigh. This intense thriller, or is it a road movie, or is it an action movie, or is it a supernatural horror movie?
I call we were talking pregame. I think it's kind of like the Hannibal Lecter movies, man. It's a horror thriller, I think.
Horror, action, thriller, road movie. Anyway, it's pretty intense, and it's a cat and mouse chase that keeps us on the edges of our seats from start to finish. Nothing can tear you away from that seat if you're watching this movie. No. But yeah, chilling atmosphere and great performances and psychological tension. I actually think this makes it a timeless piece of cinematic suspense movie making. So let's get buckled up because this is going to be a wild ride. Let's hit the road and dive into the world of The Hitcher. And I'm so pleased to say that I'll be joined today by two of our dear friends, mainstays of the channel. First of all, braving the hurricane barrel winds and tornadoes, Mr. Joe's Atmosphere. How are you? That's
it. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I went ahead and turned the lights off and got my TV up here so I can actually see what's going on while I'm doing the show. So, Burrell is bearing down on us. We're getting the bands from the right side of the storm right now. And, of course, it's a tropical storm now. just looks like a lot of rain. But at the peak of when it arrived, we had like 8 tornado warnings at once. It was ridiculous. My phone was going off like crazy. So if I disappear for some reason, guys, don't worry. I haven't been taken away by a tornado, but a power line probably did somewhere. So,
well, we're obviously our best wishes and hopes go to everybody in the Gulf area that is affected by, is it Beryl or Beryl?
I've been pronouncing it Beryl.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really know how it's pronounced.
Sure. But anyway, hope everyone stays safe. Houston, you were telling me, has lost all power. It's the greatest threat to Houston since it was nuked in Independence Day.
Right? And it didn't even work. We wasted Houston for no reason, man.
Yeah. Well, who needs a reason to waste Houston? Come on.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, welcome also to our dear friend, my internet son, Mr. Pope Metallicus the First. How are you, Pope?
Doing good, man. Jeez, it's been a while since I've seen you guys. It's been a whole 18 hours.
Right? I know, we need to hang out together more.
Right. We don't hang out enough.
Yeah, and what obviously Pope's referring to is over in Rumble, Christian Delorme's Vinyl Revival. We had a fun stream yesterday about Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix, yeah.
So check the replay of that out and go and sub to Christian on Rumble. We have a lot of fun on those shows. So,
old question: do it now.
Do it now. Do it. To be or not to be. I've got that clip somewhere. I was just going through all my video clips, checking them all because I forget what they are. But anyway, welcome to everyone who's already joined us on YouTube and Rumble, and I believe on Twitter. I never check it, but apparently we do go out there. I was a pioneer in doing that. Everyone's now doing it. I still don't think I don't know how many views I get. But if you're watching,
know how much viewership you're getting. Sometimes I get, one time I know StreamYard was messing up, and I was doing a show and I had almost 200 people watching it once, it told me. And it was because X was messing up. And it was showing a bunch of different stuff. It was just a counter that was being added to,
we're live there. We are live. I can see it now. So if you're watching on X, it'll always be Twitter to me. Hello. And hey, leave a comment or something, so we can. And same for Rumble. No, Vince is on Rumble. There is, I should point out right now, there is a poll in the chat. Not someone from the country of Poland, but a poll.
I'm not quite sure they figured out how the internet works yet.
That's right. Yes, but they can defend it with armor, swords. That's the main thing. Poland, see Thomas Howell's Finest Hour. So you get to pick your favorite. I think somebody already said they picked the wrong one. So it's no takebacks. Sorry.
Yeah. I picked which one did I pick?
Well, the choices are Soul Man,
the fourth one. Yeah.
Red Dawn, The Hitcher, and The Outsiders.
The Outsiders. That's the one I picked. Yeah. Yeah.
Apologies.
Well, I had to read that book in high school. I'm a big fan of it. Great movie.
Too.
Yeah. But C. Thomas Howell has obviously done other things, but that's the four that I always turn to as the ones I remember. Well, he was in a bit of a peak period there.
Soul Man is a movie they couldn't make today.
You could not make Soul Man now. You couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. There's no way.
So hello to Martino, who was here early on. Good to see you, Martino. Lord Thoth, hoser. What a hoser that guy is. I mean, but hey.
Did our lawyer call you?
Yeah, I'm. $10 is $10.
So Lord Thoth's philosophy right there. Good to see you, buddy. Vince is here. Vince Womack. Scrolling down, I'm sure. Oh, Anima was here. So Gary popped in to say hello, and then left before the show started, which is psychotic behavior. But that's what we would expect from this.
The chat up over here on X, but apparently you have to pay money.
Oh, you have to pay. Well, that's okay. Well, we don't. If you're going to pay money, pay it to me. Don't pay it to those bastards.
That's it, exactly.
Davina is here. One Man Show is here. E-Clay is here. Our great friend D. Bud Martin. Do it. And if we miss you, we'll get you later. So get chatting, folks. Spread these. Click the like buttons. share the stream out. It looks like a small crowd today, but small but beautifully formed, I would say.
Yes.
So we are gathered here today in holy something or other to watch, to talk about The Hitcher, which I've watched 4 times this week already. I'm dedicated.
I've seen it enough times I didn't even have to rewatch it today. I love this flick.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. Yeah.
Well, my process is usually watch the movie, then hard code the subtitles in a version of it, then rip the slides from that hard code, which means I've watched it for 3 times already so far, and then go through each of the slides to pick out the ones we don't need, and then I'll watch it again before the show. So that's my process. Just to, so there's no half measures here.
No,
that's why I can only do movies I like.
That's it. That's what you're supposed to be doing anyway, man. Come on.
So The Hitcher. So let's talk a little bit about this wonderful movie, filmed in 1985, released in the USA February 21st, 1986. I think they missed the boat. They should have released it on Valentine's Day. It's a real date movie. Yeah. Not released in the UK till May of that year, so I didn't see it till later. A tight 97 minutes, none of which is wasted. None of which is wasted.
Fantastic. Yep.
Budget of $7.9 million, but it only grossed $5.8 million. But I guess it made it. I like a lot of these movies. It made a ton on VHS later, I think.
Yes.
DVD. Yes. I would imagine. I mean,
it was a blockbuster staple, no doubt.
Yeah, and it was passed on by Fox, Universal, Warner Brothers, Orion, and New World Pictures before finally HBO Pictures and Silver Screen Partners decided to produce it. And bizarrely, I almost made this a Canon Film Club, because the Canon logo is on the some of the versions you'll see at the beginning, because they had the theatrical distribution rights in the US, and also some of the older VHSs had the Canon logo at the beginning.
Really?
No Canon production involved. But internationally, it was more TriStar Pictures handled it. But you know that the rights of those things have gone through so many iterations. I think Warner Brothers have got some kind of rights to it now.
Really?
It's got Canon in some of the versions you'll see. So it's almost a Canon Film Club. I felt that was stretching it a bit too far.
Yeah.
Apparently, there was never a sequel or a remake.
No. You don't need to remake perfection, and this movie does not deserve a sequel. How could you have a sequel to it?
I know. Exactly. What's the point? It's like Highlander. Yeah. There's no Highlander sequel. I do love, as usual, we show a lot of these great posters and artwork. C. Thomas Howell looks a little bit too baby-faced on that.
Right.
Yeah.
He was a kid when he was in this movie, no doubt about it. Yeah.
I do like this one, one of the Japanese ones. That's a great image.
Yeah.
This is the set which, if my impromptu live stream the other day, I did an unboxing of. I have this collector's edition bundle from Umbrella in Australia. It's actually sitting behind my microphone.
I was fixing to say, I see the poster.
And the poster is there.
Off to the right, yeah.
I won't unbox it again on here, but it's a magnificent collector's edition. As all the Umbrella stuff is, Umbrella in Australia. It's amazing how they get to do these things. It's Australia, so, which is, as we all know, is not a real country. It doesn't exist. I mean, it's one of these things. It's on the map. It says "Here be monsters" and ships
here be
over the end. Yeah. So one man show. We were joking. There was indeed a sequel. In fact, I think I got a couple of images. There was a sequel. It wasn't tremendous. The Hitcher, I've Been Waiting. And also there was the remake starring Sean Bean.
What? I didn't even know they made a remake of this. It's got to suck, right? Oh.
It doesn't completely suck. It's just pointless. It's just one of these pointless things. Yeah, Jake Busey was the... So, yeah, not that keen on them. So we're not talking about those today.
Yeah.
And actually, before we move on to who was in the movie, I do want to talk a little bit about some of the movies that kind of inspired it a little. One of them, of course, is the magnificent Duel with the Psycho truck. You never see the driver. Steven Spielberg effort. Early Spielberg with Richard Matheson screenplay, Dennis Weaver. A lot of takeaway in the Hitcher from this. Absolutely. Mad Max, I feel, the 79 original Mad Max has a lot of similarities, given that this one was firmly on the road as opposed to out the desert. So it's more all that road chasing with, and Max is still a policeman in this one. It's got some similarities, I think,
Yeah, they don't spend much time far off the road in the Hitcher. And I could see that for sure. I think you might, maybe it's a stretch, but Christine could be another one.
You could say that. I feel there's Terminator character-wise to Rutger Hauer's character.
Oh, yeah. You can't kill him. Yeah.
Definite Terminator feeling to that. He's relentless and unkillable.
Can't be bargained with. He can't be reasoned with.
Yeah. Psycho, it has the same tension and feeling of what's going to happen next kind of tension, It's unfortunately lacking, semi-naked Janet Leigh and Vera Miles, but never mind. Films that came in Vanishing Point, which was an earlier road chase movie, which it's a long time since I've seen it, but I did see it. Cleavon Little was in this one from Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles fame.
Super Soul. But again, there's a lot of similarity in the road chase sequences in this one, I find. Interesting movie, Vanishing Point. Movies that were inspired by it, I always think Breakdown, Kurt Russell owes a lot to The Hitcher.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of similarities too. And then The Vanishing has some, which was based on a Dutch original, both directed by the same guy, have a lot of similarities as well. So there's some cultural impact in and out for this particular movie. But I think to me, it stands alone in this. I tried to describe it. Horror, suspense, thriller, action, road movie.
That's a mouthful, buddy, but it is all that, no doubt.
Yeah, it's got that kind of, it's not a supernatural movie. No. But the character of
he comes off like Michael Myers in Halloween, though. You can't kill him.
Of John Ryder. I mean, he's very chilling. He always appears to slip in and out of places unseen.
Yeah.
At the right time or the wrong time for those that are in there. How does he get in a room without being heard? How does he get through a jail? Whatever. He's super intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
Very charismatic, but in a cold way, not in a make you like him way. Relentless like the Terminator, and absolutely no backstory, no motivation, other than the fact he seems to want to mentor this guy to kill him.
Yeah, he's like the Joker in The Dark Knight. He's going to manipulate you into doing something you don't want to do, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, the Hitcher himself, the hitchhiker, calls himself John Ryder, which Ryder is their car rental company. That was the joke that they put in there.
Yep.
Played by the sadly missed Dutch star Rutger Hauer, fan of many of our favorite. We're fans of many of his favorite.
Oh man, come on!
Properties and movies. Yeah. I mean, the man's a legend. We miss him badly. Hey, and Christian's here.
What's funny is a lot of his movies didn't make a lot of money, but they were blockbuster gold. I mean, you always were checking out a Rutger Hauer movie to watch.
It's like a cult movie legend.
Mm-hmm.
Always elevated things
that
he was in. Mm-hmm. Studied hard as a Dutch guy who'd conquered the very small Dutch film market, come to Hollywood, learn English and try and learn it without an accent and get into the Hollywood. He worked hard to get into Hollywood, and he got some of these prime roles that we love. Obviously, Roy Batty, It's funny in the Hitcher. There's like the cafe that he has the face off with. C. Thomas Howland is called Roy's Cafe or Roy's Diner, which I always thought was quite neat.
That's that's ironic.
But Roy Batty, legendary Lady Hawk, of course.
Yes,
brilliant,
great fantasy movie. Wasn't that was that Matthew Broderick was in that? I think. Yeah.
Excuse me, drinking my coffee.
Can't remember who the girl was. I don't remember who she was.
Melanie. For some reason, I was going to say Melanie Griffiths there.
I don't know. I'll look it up real quick. But yeah, great movie. Fantastic stuff. If you're into fantasy.
Yeah, Lady Hawk. Someone in Michelle Pfeiffer. I thought it was Michelle Pfeiffer.
Really?
Yeah, wow. I'm pretty sure it was.
It's been a while.
I actually got a copy of it recently, but that's why I'm looking for it. Anyway, Nighthawks. Another early villain role.
Probably. I mean, that's at least in the top 3 with this one. As far as him being a bad guy, I struggle between that movie and this one for being the best bad guy he's played.
More charming in this one.
He's fantastic in that one, man.
Yeah, he's a little bit more personally able to sway people, as opposed to just scare the shit out of them. Sanders rightly mentioning one of his famous Dutch movies he made before Hollywood, Soldier of Orange, which is a fantastic film if you ever see it. He actually continued to do Dutch movies through the years, and some of them are pretty good. Yeah, Osterman Weekend was another one he was in. But Blind Fury, which I absolutely love that movie.
Yeah.
Wanted Dead or Alive.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yes.
Gene Simmons in it with him.
Gene Simmons, yes. In a role that you probably couldn't get away with now. No. So, and then of course, slightly different road movie, Hobo with a Shotgun, which is a definitely movie we're definitely going to do on here one day.
That's a deep cut, bro.
That's deep cut. I think Pope would probably enjoy that movie. He's muted right now, I think, is he?
I don't know.
Hobo with a Shotgun? Yeah. I've seen that movie.
Exactly. So Rutger Hauer, I want to now. Do you know though that Rutger Hauer, famous he is for his movies, was exceptionally famous in Britain and Europe for something else over the years. He made for several years. I'll come to your Dutch super chat in just a second, Christian, my friend. Thank you. He made a series of adverts for Guinness.
Really?
Which became exceptionally famous, and he became a huge star because of them. So here's a couple of them.
It's not easy being a dolphin.
We did these for a number of years, and it was interesting because I was working for Guinness at the time, so it was actually really neat. So this is another one, slightly longer one.
The planet Mars is paradise. Voices are never raised in argument. Never. There's only one sex, so no emotional problems. No fast cars. No noisy discos. Everyone is equal and lives to 803. Me? I sold up and moved to Earth.
Yeah, there's a subtle message in that one, which I like. But yeah, if you've never, I wanted to share those because there's tons of them on YouTube. We did these for years, these Guinness adverts. Brilliant. Absolutely. Can't imagine anyone else doing those. He was wonderful.
Yeah, dude. I mean, when you got it like that, you got it like that, right?
Yeah. Actually, a couple of clips I just wanted to play with start. We've not got too many video clips today. We'll be showing some stills, obviously. This is a couple of clips of him talking about his character, John Ryder.
What are you doing?
In terms of the character, I thought, this is a guy who knows he's very sick, but he doesn't quite know where to go to have it fixed or He doesn't know how to end it. He is a coward too. If he would have the guts to commit suicide, that'll be fine, but he doesn't have that. So I guess in his, somewhere in his mind, he comes up with an idea that if he can just find somebody who gives a little shit.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody he can manipulate into killing him.
And this seems to be his one and only motivation in the movie is finding that guy and then mentoring by brutality enough so that he actually does the deed.
I mean, it's a sick dude. And if as you watch the movie, I mean, he's never accountable for any of his actions because he puts it all on the kid. He makes it look like the kid's doing it the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
And then he berates him for not fighting
back, right?
Well, I mean, when I first saw this, I wasn't so sure, especially because, like you say, he's so good at getting into places unseen and not really being noticed.
Yeah.
I didn't know if the kid was basically having a schizophrenic break, and he was actually the one doing all this.
Right.
Wow, that's a good point.
That could have been a good twist for this. It could have been a Fight Club type
like
thing.
A Fight Club scenario, because they really don't explain anything, which is actually part of the fun of the movie. It starts here, shit starts happening, shit ends here.
It's just a kid trying to make a buck
No
while he's in
backstory.
college, driving a car from Los Angeles to Texas. That's what he's doing, right?
Well, he's actually going from Chicago to San Diego.
Is that where he's going to Chicago?
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, guys. Sorry.
Okay. So that is based upon the writer's an experience he had doing a cross-country drive and listening at night on the radio through the desert and listening to riders on the storm and stuff like that. And he was coming up with this idea. But Christian Delorme's Vinyl Revival, thank you, buddy, for $5. I always had a teenage boy crush on that actress playing Nash. Spoiler alert, too bad she got dismembered. My one thing about that is the problem with that scene is that the soundtrack should have been playing Joy Division's Love Will Tear Us Apart. I'm a sick man. Thank you, Christian. And for that, you do have to get some kind of psychotic break. How about this one?
There's no more than what God gave me, you Puritan pure.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So the interviews with Rutger Hauer are on it. It's on YouTube. There's a documentary, and it's also on the special features of the collector's edition I got, which was I think it's entitled something like "How Could You Make That Movie?" And it's because that's taken from some of the comments that people said to the cast and crew after it was released. How could you make that terrible movie? So yeah, check those. You'll find those on the interwebs. Another couple of little clips I wanted to play with Rutger Hauer talking about his character was the intelligence aspect of him.
To me, the first thing that is scary about a character is intelligence. If the guy is intelligent, and now we know they are around, but that's scary. So you can't fool him too easily. You have to be smart to fool him. It lifts up the whole story. It lifts up the bad guy. It lifts up the hero. The more complicated, the more complex the bad guy is, the better the hero is off when he finally gets it.
That's a great point. Yeah. Intelligence is the chilliest thing. You mentioned Hannibal Lecter. I think, Joe, that kind of intelligence, formidable intelligence, is the most scary. It's easy enough to have a psycho wielding whatever.
His brain is his most dangerous weapon, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Rutger Hauer put a lot into figuring that out. A lot of it is this is how I think this should be portrayed. Now, he wasn't the first choice for the role. There was a number of actors were in the frame. One of them was Terence Stamp, who actually turned it down in the end because he eventually said, I think this might be a little bit not where my mind's at, maybe a bit too violent. And according to the director, years later, he said, I bitterly regret that. I wish I'd done it.
Yeah.
And he would have been good too, because he's got that blue eyes.
Yes. You're talking about General Zod in the Superman movie?
Nailed it.
He would have nailed it. Yeah.
But Rutger's great. He's perfect. And Sam Elliott, believe it or not, was also offered the part, but turned it down.
Nah.
I think
I don't believe in this.
I can't.
I think the money wasn't right for him or something.
And he's not the right personality either. I mean, Rutger Hauer plays an amazing villain in that he just, like you say, he has that method to him that you can tell everything.
Well, he's got those crazy eyes when he wants them, man. He does. I mean, this movie and Nighthawks, he has got some crazy looks, dude. He really does.
Brilliant actor. Yeah, he made the part. He absolutely made it. Opposite him is C. Thomas Howell as Jim Halsey, the guy that's delivering the car. Obviously, that car never gets delivered because it's wrecked.
Yeah, right.
Thinking that's it. You're not getting paid for this, buddy. You're done.
Yeah, right.
A bit of a Renaissance man, actor, stuntman. Started out as a stunt kid.
Yes,
and a rodeo star. He's actually done rodeo.
Never thought he really reached his potential, man. I really, I thought he'd be a bigger star than he was. Still really happy to see him late in the series of The Walking Dead as one of the guys from the Kingdom. He was on horseback and a gruff old man with a gray beard and everything, but it was him. It was cool as hell to see him. Yeah. Love C. Thomas Howell.
Indeed. So he was on a bit of a roll at this time, though, because here he is, slightly later. Now I think he looks even more, he's got sort of goatee beard, and he's about my age. So Joe, he's about our age. So he's looking a bit grizzled.
Yeah, he's a grizzled little bit, no doubt.
Here's a starring movie he made that would never get made today.
But it's funny. If you guys, I don't even know if they show it anywhere. I
can't see this movie anywhere.
I swear, man.
You can't see it.
I'm not sure if I have a hard copy of it or not, but my gosh, that's a funny movie.
But
the premise, guys, if you don't know, he takes some kind of tanning thing. It's a pill that's supposed to darken your pigment, and he overloads himself on it so he can get a minority scholarship at a big
ends
college.
Up looking like Justin Trudeau.
Right. It's, wow.
But if you actually look at his wife, he actually married Ray Dawn Chong. They were married for a number of years. James B. Sickings in it, Leslie Nielsen, and James Earl Jones. I haven't seen this movie since it came out, so possibly you can't get it now. I don't know.
Yeah. I watched it a few times, man.
And of course, Red Dawn.
Who hasn't seen that one?
The classic.
Another movie they should never have remade. I mean, I guess the Hemsworth one is okay, but it's not near as good as this one.
Yeah, nothing will ever top this.
No.
Yeah. Outsiders, though, a Coppola movie, which is more, I guess you would say, is more of a serious movie.
Yeah.
Excellent movie, brilliant cast, and C. Thomas Howell was a large part of that. So,
well, it's based on a book that. What's it? Elliot, I think is the last name of the author.
S.E. Hinton.
S.E. Hinton, is that it? Yeah. And there was they made all of that writer's books in the movies, Kingfish and all that stuff. No, Rumblefish was the name of the one with Matt Dillon in it.
Yeah.
That was a tour de force for all those actors, and all of them really nobody knew who they were at the time.
Matt Dillon's in this too, of course.
Yeah, he is.
Great movie. If you've never seen it, check it out.
It is fantastic.
And we have a poll in the chat for C. Thomas Howell's best moment. I know I could only include 4 movies, so my apologies.
I voted for that one. That's that one. And Diane Lane.
And of course, we should remember that C. Thomas Howell was in E.T. He was one of the kids in E.T.
Yes.
And there was something else that I was. Gettysburg. Yeah, he played a fairly good part in Gettysburg. He's done a bunch of things, but this was kind of his peak, almost stardom. So Jennifer Jason Leigh, who's Nash, the waitress in the roadside diner, who probably regretted meeting our protagonist.
Well, do you think so? Maybe.
Should never have let him in that cafe. Still with us, working in movies and TV. I didn't know this, but she's Vic Morrow's daughter.
No,
I never knew that. For some reason, I never knew that. Someone selling Soul Man for $199. Hunt them down and cancel them. Very pretty in a lot of great movies around about that time. Fast Times, Judgment High. She's a waitress, and
she's Homeboy's brother in it, right?
Yeah.
The tall guy from Beverly Hills Cop. What the hell's his name? I can't remember that.
Judge Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold. That's
and
right.
Sean Penn's finest hour, I think.
Yes.
Spicoli. This, I don't know why Last Exit to Brooklyn is such a good movie. Maybe it's to do with this still.
Could be. Could be. The young lady had no problem showing you her birthday suit in movies, no doubt. Yeah.
And Backdraft. She was in some big movies. Backdraft.
Yes, she was. She was.
And
this isn't, I don't know if you've got it on there, but this wasn't her only movie with Rutger Hauer either.
Yeah,
She's
she
in a
was
movie
in
called Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was in a movie with C. Thomas Howell called Grandview, USA.
Yes.
So she had actually worked with them both. But she was also in I'm a huge Coen Brothers aficionado, and she was one of the leads in the Hudsucker Proxy. Brilliant movie. If you've never seen this, if you've never seen any Coen Brothers movies apart from maybe The Big Lebowski, go and watch all the other ones.
Yeah, for sure.
Such good movies.
Look, my favorite Coen Brothers movie is Nicolas Cage in Raising Arizona.
Oh God,
that is the funniest damn thing I've ever
he's
seen.
So Nick Cage in that, dumb Nick Cage.
Yep.
And also in the last certain number of years, Crazy Daisy Domergue in The Hateful Eight.
I still haven't seen that movie yet.
Tarantino is a big fan of The Hitcher, so
I shall return, gentlemen.
Indeed. I hope you're okay, mate. Yeah. She's a great actress, so I'm glad she's still getting a lot of work. So now you think it's a three-hander, but there's a bunch of other roles, not big roles, but of the troopers and the police. Some of these guys were actually pretty damn good and had good careers. So Jeffrey DeMunn was Captain Estridge in this prolific American actor, still with us but retired. He was in things like The Green Mile. He was in The Shawshank Redemption, but he also ended up doing, I don't know, hundreds of... sorry, I've just jumped ahead to... Pretty sure I just jumped ahead. Hang on. I don't know what happened there. Because this is now John M. Jackson. So sorry, jumped ahead from Henry Till, Jeffrey DeMunn. He was Shawshank Redemption, Majestic, Walking Dead, Billions, and still around. John M. Jackson plays Sergeant Starr, one of the police. He's also still around, but he was in, I don't really watch them, but he was in JAG and NCIS for years. But that's not my favorite role of his. My favorite role was in The Glimmer Man with Steven Seagal, who threw him out of a window. So
The Glimmer Man, that was a good one. Look, I'm going to dip out, buddy.
All right, mate.
Sounds like we've got an alarm going off on the base. That's what I was hearing. So
Okay, well,
I got to check things out, and I will try and get back to you. Okay.
Yeah,
you guys have a great time watching this fantastic movie. It is awesome. I love it.
Stay safe, mate.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris Citizen X. Yeah, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Miami Blues, excellent movie. Fred Ward, Alec Baldwin, brilliant movie. Get to the movie already. I know. Sorry. It always takes me a while because I got to go through everybody. This is what I'm a trivia hound. But John M. Jackson also has a small role in one of my legit favorite movies of all time, Scottish movie Local Hero. Very small role, but he deserves legendary status for that. You had Billy Greenbush, who was Trooper Donner. He is still around, did a lot of cult movies playing sheriffs and troopers. He was in 5 easy pieces with Jack Nicholson. You also had Jack Thibault playing Trooper Preston. He was in a ton of movies as well. You can see one of them there. Critters. So on and so on. He was in... so Jack Thibault, a lot of Clint Eastwood movies. Escape from Alcatraz, Any Which Way You Can, Sudden Impact. So point is that the supporting cast had small roles, but they're all pretty good, experienced guys. You had Armin Shimmerman, who was a sergeant doing the interrogation. He was famous for Quark, of course, Deep Space Nine. Henry Darrow.
I really recognized immediately. I was just like, wait a minute, I know you.
It's Quark, yeah. So this guy, Henry Darrow, Trooper Hancock, the guy that wants to kill C. Thomas Howell so badly. His real name, I didn't realize, Enrique Tomas Delgado Jimenez. Henry Darrow passed away sadly in 2021. He played, and I'm the only guy that remembers this show, Manolito Montoya in The High Chaparral. One of my favorite westerns as a kid. Brilliant show. Never hear about it now. Nobody talks about it. Also, you had Gene Davis, who played Trooper Dodge. He has deep canon connections. He was the psycho Warren Stacy in 10 to Midnight with Charles Bronson. And he also played a killer in the Messenger of Death movie in 1988. So deep canon connections. Also was in the film Cruising with Al Capone and Universal Soldier. So as for the director, Robert Harmon, it was a still photographer that they decided they could get for cheap to do his first feature film. Did a lot. He's basically moved to TV, does all the Tom Selleck, Jesse Stone stuff, which are pretty good when you watch them, actually, not bad. Although he did direct Jean-Claude Van Damme's Nowhere to Run. So he does have that under his belt as well. Screenplay was Eric Red, American screenwriter, novelist. Near Dark is one of the other movies he wrote, which is a really cracking movie. Love it. Catherine Bigelow's first film as director. Very trippy Tangerine Dream soundtrack. And of course, Lance Henriksen and Bill Paxton, so lots of Terminator connections. The movie looks great, and it's because, like a lot of these B movies, they end up getting some really great guys behind the camera. This is John Seal. He's from the fictional country of Australia, where he made the immortal BMX Bandits with Nicole Kidman. But he went on to win an Oscar for, and Tom Connors will hate me for this, The English Patient. But he also did Witness, Rain Man, Mad Max Fury Road, The Firm, and one of the Harry Potters. So he's got like hundreds of great Hollywood movies behind him. But he's an Aussie, it's truth. Because it looks great. The fact that it looks like a fabulous movie and the landscapes are brilliant. Filmed mainly in Southern California, although it's meant to be Texas. Also filmed in some of the places A Boy and His Dog was filmed. So. The soundtrack, though, I love the soundtrack. It's a guy called Mark Ware Isham, composer, trumpeter, keyboard player, seen as a bit of an electronic pioneer. Worked with guys like Brian Wilson, Van Morrison, XTC, but did hundreds of top movies if you look him up. But apart from The Hitcher, which is a great soundtrack, he obviously did Time Cop. So, you can't say better than that, can you?
No.
It's a super, the Hitcher soundtrack is just perfect. Now, they talk a lot about in the documentary, like the soundtrack fits so well, you can't imagine the movie without it, and I agree with that. A lot of stunts were done as well by a guy called Tony Epper in the movie, who plays Trooper Connors, and he comes from a family of stunt people. So quite a team behind it. The stunt guy did Con Air, Thelma and Louise, Lethal Weapon 2, Patriot Games, stuff like that. So it's a great behind-the-scenes team for a small-budget movie. So let's start looking at some slides for you people gagging for it out there. Alrighty. See, there's the Canon logo. I got all excited. I thought, I could do Canon Film Club. Not quite. There's no production credit. It's purely distribution. It's like Highlander has a Canon logo on it, but they had nothing to do with producing it. So. Yeah, Vince makes a great point about the framing and lighting. It's beautifully filmed. The DP John Seal. Look him up. It's just great movie after great movie.
Yeah, the cinematography in this one, you would never know it was such a low-budget movie watching it.
It's gorgeously filmed, whether it's the dark stuff or stuff in the desert and the daylight. That's why I think a lot of the best B movies, they make sure that they might not be able to afford a lot of other stuff, but make sure you get a guy that can photograph it well and make the best of that, you know. So certainly did that. So you get the opening scenes, which we're introduced to our sadly oblivious hero as he's falling asleep in the desert listening to the radio. And it's supposed to be in El Paso, West Texas area. As I think they actually, as I say, filmed it in a lot of it in Barstow in Southern California. There's a couple of shots in Death Valley, I think, as well. And the writer, as Davina says, was listening to, he did this cross-country thing for whatever reason. He was listening to Riders of the Storm a lot in the Doors. And he started to think, what if something was to happen on this journey? So there's a lot of talk about sexual tension. I'm too old. I have no sexual tension whatsoever. That rubber band is now limp. Just kidding, by the way. Dustin is here. Jump on in, mate. Jump on in. But yeah, the establishing shots are brilliant. This is why it doesn't waste any time. He gets passed by that Volkswagen. He's like, oh, well, where are they going in the rain? Then makes the fateful decision to stop and pick our hero up. Our hero picks our villain up. And he doesn't even make any attempt to ingratiate himself with Halsey. He just acts like a weirdo right from the start.
Yeah, he was just like very creepy and very ominous right from the start.
Yeah, I mean, immediate tension, you know. Keeps asking him where he's from, what's his name. But gives his name, John Ryder, clearly a made-up name. Where are you going? Doesn't answer. That's because we know now he's not really going anywhere.
Yeah.
And as they he gets some from smoke, but just immediately it's like, what the hell is this guy? And then he pushes his hand down in the accelerator to get him past the Volkswagen sitting by the side of the road. So he starts to reveal what may have happened to the previous driver.
Yeah.
I think you better get out now. Nah, it's not going to happen. I'm wondering if Ryder's at this point thinking, maybe this is the guy I'm really looking for. He's on his own. He's young. Maybe if I just mentor him enough, he might do what I'm trying to do, which is get myself killed.
Yeah.
I like the fact that when he talks about the Volkswagen, he says, I cut his legs and his arms and his head off. What's wrong with that car back there? Oh, that's what the last driver said, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And what happened to him? Oh. Yeah, this immediately you know you're not dealing with your average, you're not dealing with your average scumbag even.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. Just love it. And all that lashing rain in the dark in the middle of the desert, and the fact it's all in this desert area with not a lot of people around makes it even spookier.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things about these early shots is there's nobody else there.
Yeah, it's like anything can happen out there, and it could take ages for anyone to come across it. You couldn't have walked very far. Why is that? Because I cut his legs off and his arms. Because you'd be thinking, is this guy just some kind of really black sense of humor, or does he?
Yeah, it's like that's what I thought. Is like, oh, this is going to be he's going to play it off like a joke, and no. And
then there's a little bit of scene here that a lot of the contemporary reviews, like Roger Ebert, were all. First of all, they all hated it. Of course, they hated it. Because it was, this is so violent and unnecessary violence and brutal and unfeeling and blah, blah, blah. But they tried to make out it was some kind of just because Rutger Hauer puts his hand on his leg here and pretends that they're a couple or something briefly to kind of put this guy off. It's some kind of anti-gay allegory, and because AIDS was a big problem at the time. It's an anti, and it's all about AIDS and anti-gay. Nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it has clearly nothing to do with it. It's
not.
He's trying to be as creepy as possible and trying not to attract attention to anyone but him.
Yeah, he doesn't. There's absolutely nothing in this about that in any way, unless you're the sort of critics that's willing to read something to everything.
Of course.
Yeah. So this bit with it, when he says, "What do you know what happens to an eyeball?" And then what happens when you cut someone's neck and whatever? It's just like, come on. And we all like to think, well, because C. Thomas Howell's practically wetting himself here. We all like to think, well, we would be cool, calm, and collected. No, we wouldn't. He's just a kid and he's scared shitless.
Right.
Trying isn't going to help. It's like 5 minutes, this stuff, and yet you completely understand that this guy's something very different.
Yeah, he's beyond just your normal psychopath. He clearly has an intention behind it. We just don't have any idea what.
Like Vince Waugh, major pain. I can't feel my legs because your arms are blown off. It's. I don't know. I mean, we're not experts or reviewers. We just like what we like, and immediately I was on the edge of my seat when I first saw this. I think, what the hell is this guy doing? And you never, ever find out the motivation.
That's what makes it so creepy and so frightening, is you never find out why.
Yeah, who or why is never spelled out, other than the fact you kind of get the feeling he's looking for someone to take him out. As Rutger Hauer said in the interview, he's a coward who doesn't want to kill himself, so he's trying to provoke someone else to do it. Like, he could have done death by cop if he'd wanted, but he chooses to do it this way.
Well, that's what made me think there was something else going on here. Because like you said, he could have just pulled a gun on a cop or something like that and just done it. But I think it was partially he wanted to corrupt someone else. Someone who is actually a decent person. That's why he posed as a hitchhiker, is someone who's decent enough to stop on the side of the road to pick up a stranger. Well, that's a good person. I'm going to make them bad.
Yeah, it's almost like a mentoring, a sick, twisted mentoring of the guy. I wanted to just play a little clip of C. Thomas Howell talking about his character.
I don't want to die!
My character shows him that I want to win. That I'm not so fearful that I'll just collapse and let you stick that knife in my heart and drain my life. I want to survive. And he recognizes that, and that inspires him to take me to the next level. He says, okay, kid, I'm taking you on a ride.
Which is just what we're talking about. He's like, he's picked this guy. He's the first guy he's come across in all these cars that he thinks, this is the guy. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this guy into almost like a version of me.
I'm going to push this guy and see exactly how far he'll go.
This is the bit where I'm going to show another clip. It took me a while to get clips that didn't get copyright nuked, but this is where he tells Halsey what he wants.
What do you want?
I want you to stop me.
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
So it spells it out pretty much. I want you to stop me. Of course, Halsey at the point is, well, you're holding a knife at me. I can't do that. Whatever. He wasn't quite getting the point either there. He does eventually get the point after multiple scenes. Eventually, he comes to the realization that he has to stop him, because even if he's arrested, it's not going to stop him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, this stuff is really chilling with the car with the kids and You'll notice, though, of course, that a lot of the stuff we didn't see it. People said this is an exceptionally violent movie. Strictly speaking, it isn't. Most of the stuff is just suggested or off screen. You don't see the Volkswagen driver getting hurt. You don't see this family getting hurt. You don't see the truck scene later with the. You actually don't see it. Yes, you see some people getting shot, and then there's the cars tumbling over or whatever. Generally speaking, a lot of it is implied.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because the director of photography, John Seale, did say there was a woman that he met and she was berating him for making this movie. She said, how could you do that horrible scene where the girl is torn apart? It was gruesome. It was horrible. And he said, well, that's not actually on screen. It's implied, but it's not. She said, no, I watched it and I watched the whole thing and I saw her getting torn apart. He said, it didn't happen.
He's like, I know, I shot every frame.
That's right. He said, people got it into their heads that it actually happened because they filmed it so well and suggested it so well. They thought they saw it and they didn't see it, which is, of course, often is the best terror and horror and suspense, not seeing it. Yeah, and certification makes a big deal of it, obviously, Smilex, right? So, Psycho wasn't really a bloodbath. In fact, even the blood, because it was in black and white, it's not red blood in the shower. Often the suggestion of it becomes the reality for some people in their head.
Well, and Hitchcock firmly understood that with things like Psycho, where the implication of it and hinting at it is far, far more terrifying than actually just letting you see it.
Yeah. So yeah, the now we get we're now at the point where we think Ryder's not going to let this guy alone, and he seems to turn up wherever Jim is.
That's what made me think that this might be a figment of his imagination that's driving him to do these things. Is there's no reason the guy would be there or able to be there, and yet he's always there.
It's just where he just turns up at the. Now I know it's one road with not a lot of stuff on it, but he seems to have this almost supernatural power to appear at the right time, or be in something that he shouldn't be in, or know something is going on. I guess he's just very closely following Jim in whatever way. I'm not even so sure that he didn't intend to get thrown out of the car earlier when Jim threw him out. Like that was part of his thing. Let him think he's scared. Let him think he's getting away, and I'll pull that hook in again.
Well, that's the thing is that's his MO, is just ratchet up the tension and ratchet up this guy's level of panic, essentially, to see what he does.
I do like the fact that he goes from that, closed in, foggy, not foggy, sand blown, can't see anything, which is pretty creepy in its own right. And then but then he goes to, well, I've got a car, I'm in the wide open road, the sun's shining, I can see for miles. Bang. So he thinks he's safer in this, and he isn't in this environment.
Yep.
Hello. I'm back. And he has multiple opportunities to kill Jim, and he doesn't. That's not what he's trying to do.
Yeah, he either wants to, make this guy kill him, or he's just trying to prolong it and push this guy to the absolute brink. Yep,
it's like he has a plan. And of course, all these murders have been occurring. He's making sure that Jim is in the frame for them.
Well, yeah, he always makes sure that Jim is right there.
Yeah, to further increase his torment. He's tormenting him, but almost like tempering the steel, It's I just think it's like a mentor relationship. It's bizarre. Unwanted one, but
yep.
And I love all these set scenes. the gas stations, the empty ones, this one which is modern and but closed for some reason, and he thinks, "What's going on here?" And then boom. I did have a clip of this, and I just, no matter how slowly I trimmed it down, I couldn't get it past the copyright. Rutger Hauer powers out of the garage doors of the gas station in a truck, smashes with no care for anything over the gas, and then decides to give our guy a little bit of a sprint to get out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, apparently Rutger Hauer did all his own driving in these scenes. Like, he did the actual smashing out of stuff and over stuff. Just brilliant though. This like holds up the match. Hello. Yeah. Cool stuff. And then we become introduced to our female protagonist, Nash. Little do we know. Little does she know. One thing that did interest me was the fact that she clearly, once she starts talking to Halsey, despite the evidence, clearly takes his side. And again, one of the cops later said that kid never killed anybody. So maybe there's just something about him. Despite despite everything pointing towards the fact he's a deranged, bedraggled psycho.
Well, I mean, if you're a cop long enough, or a combat vet, you can just kind of tell by the way somebody acts. When it's like, oh, he killed you. No, he didn't. This guy's never killed anyone.
Yeah.
Apparently, or especially as a deputy in a small town, every investigation you're going to be a part of, because there's only four of you, or whatever. So you get used to seeing things like that. Of this guy's not a killer.
Yeah, I mean, he's just, and that's partly why John Ryder is attracted to him, because he wants to mold him into something like that, just against his will, and he has to go to such extreme lengths to do it.
And it's not even just mold him to his will; it's destroy him, destroy his reputation, and destroy his life.
It's almost like taking him into the military, and where you break down people so they can then build them up.
Exactly what it is. They're just pushing it. He's just pushing him little by little, by increasing the stress level and just pushing him beyond what he knows he's capable of.
You even wonder if maybe Ryder's background was in the military, or there's no records of him, no fingerprint records, no ID, no nothing. They don't even know his real name, but maybe he was military.
Could be. Or, this guy is clearly just a ghost.
He's like a ghost. It's weird. It's not meant to be a supernatural movie, but he's like a ghost.
That's the thing, is like it's not a supernatural movie, even according to the people who made it, but it has those elements of, until you're actually seeing him interact with other people, like the cops later in the movie, you're not even sure he's real.
You're not. I mean, it and as you said, it could be that the whole thing is a figment of Halsey's imagination. I don't think so, given the fact that the two of them are clearly visible to the police as separate individuals.
Yeah, and they are talking to him, not...
Yeah. There's no ambiguity about those scenes, but now we're reaching another one of the most famous parts of the movie. I wonder where Ryder's been all this time. But yeah, here's some fries for you. Are you hungry? You like some fries? But yeah, there's some kind of bonding going on between this two to enough of an extent that she believes him and has some sympathy for him, to the extent she's going to go out of her way to protect him or try and side with him.
Yeah, or even just get him off of wherever his headspace is right at. Because you see him, he's just staring at the countertop of just like he's out of it.
He's clearly disturbed by something, but I'm not sure how much. He doesn't tell her everything. But here we go. So enjoy those fries. Just right there. I think we have that clip. Famous, all-time famous scene.
And that's another, like, everything in this is pointing to, like, this is just his descent into madness.
Yeah. The funny thing is, we don't even know where the finger is from.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't eat that. You don't know where it's from. It's unspecified. So finally, the cops, some of the cops have caught up with him. And even that is never the end of his torment because of Ryder's actions. He's determined to intervene every time this kind of thing happens. Even getting taken in by the police is not a relief for him.
No.
That's Gene Davis there. Well, I mean, they do have some good reasons for arresting him in their mind. Quite right.
This guy was, right next to like 5 dead bodies that they know of.
Yeah. And they've got no idea about the other guy.
Yeah, they've never seen him. Nobody's mentioned him. So what are they supposed to think?
Yeah. So they would arrest him. And yeah, took my wallet, planted the knife. Doesn't matter what you say at this point. But even at this point, at least he still thinks he's safe.
Yeah, he still thinks it's gonna end at some point. It's like, oh no, buddy, no.
I thought his first car had been pretty damaged by this time. The one he's supposed to be delivering. I thought he was in a second car by now.
Yeah, I think he is.
When Ryder threw the keys down to him in that old abandoned gas station. Unless it was the keys of the car he had been driving. I can't remember now. So just pause this for a second. RRTNZ. Good to see you, buddy. A $2 New Zealand super chat. Chuck Norris was in this film. He played the trucks. Nice one. Thanks for that, buddy. In fact, that means you're going to have to get some kind of a Chuck Norris clip in response. Here it is.
This is for me.
Thanks for that, mate. Yeah, Chuck. See, it's a canon film. It's a canon movie, almost.
Well, that's the thing. Like, almost every low budget movie in Hollywood is somehow from this period is somewhat canon related.
Yeah, the first time I think when I see any of these was it a canon film, and it has canon connections, particularly as we mentioned because of some of the actors in it, and Gene Davis, I think we mentioned particularly, was in a couple of canons, and I think Jennifer Jason Leigh was in a canon as well. Trying to remember the name of it now. But they also did that canon thing where they they may not have been able to afford a lot, but they made the best of what they had.
Yeah,
and that's why they got this great little supporting cast. All these guys have all been in other things and pretty good stuff. Even
especially
though
by this point, Canon was firmly in their business model of why the hell would I make a $30 million movie when I can make $4 million, $2 million movies for the same price?
Yeah, exactly. That the ethos was great. The same with the New World Pictures and Roger Corman that we've talked about a couple of times now. If you're going to do B movies, make them look as good as you can and get the best people behind the scenes that you can. And this film, a great DP, great director, fantastic music, top class soundtrack.
And just like any good story, you start with a screenwriter and a story, and you work from there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Truck doesn't blink, the explosion blinks. Yeah, this is actually a really good sequence, because where else would you feel more secure than in a prison, in a jail, in a police station with the door gate locked and a bunch of armed cops outside? So he decides to have a sleep. Because you'd feel completely secure, although if you'd seen the Terminator, you wouldn't. But yeah, or Assault on Precinct 13. But one of the things about the soundtrack of this, not just the music, but the sound editing, was he has this dream, and the dream is of obviously some of the scary things that have happened, and he actually hears gunshots in the dream, and they're incorporated into the dream. So when we're watching it, we think, well, what a terrible dream. He's even hearing the firing of the gun and whatever. Well, yes, that was incorporated in his dream because it actually was happening. So the sound editing part of that was really done pretty well.
And that's another, great part of the directing part of this movie is he's playing with reality very, very well. The audience isn't really sure, and neither is Halsey, of what exactly the hell is going on here.
Yeah, and he goes up to the gate. Oh shit, it's open. Maybe that's a sign something's wrong.
Yeah.
So Joe's saying, not going to make it back, folks. That was a tornado alarm at Barksdale, getting one warning after another. Yeah, sorry to see you having to go, mate, but stay safe. And indeed, everybody down there that's subject to beryl. Hope you all stay safe too. Yeah, there you go. Undercover. Thank you, Davina. I knew she was in a canon. I just couldn't think of the name of it. Undercover, which is, we'll get to one of these days on Canon Film Club. And I think we'll be doing a Canon Film Club in a couple of weeks, maybe. I still think I want to do King Solomon's Mines, I think. I'm just looking at the VHS. King Solomon's Mines might be the one to do. So we'll get prepped for that. But this dog, it's actually one of the worst scenes for me, is when the dog goes up to the dead cop, starts licking him. Yeah. I was like, oh shit. And I noticed that Ryder has a conscience. He doesn't kill the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
but
be
the
cool.
dog doesn't react to him almost at all. That's no. Like I said, until you see other characters interact with him, you're not even sure he's really there.
At this point, yeah, because when I did watch, I was thinking, is this guy supernatural?
Yeah, whether it be either a supernatural figure or a creation of Halsey's own mind, because nothing else interacts with him.
Yeah, I like this. Undercover with Jennifer Jason. Don't say it. Restrain yourself. Yes. Yeah, well, Smile Likes, you're always welcome. Come on, mate. We can, if you want to come on one time, we'll find the suitable stream for you. It can be done. We're very open here. We're very friendly and welcoming.
Hell, I started off coming in at a random spot in the chat. So,
yeah, indeed, and I've still never been able to get rid of you. So anyway, yeah, Ryder's managed to wipe out the entire police station or sheriff's station, but admittedly, there's only like 3 guys in there. But And of course, just as our guy's getting out the door, other cops arrive. So that he's getting framed for this stuff.
In this case, he's got a gun in his hand.
Yeah, he keeps escaping from the police. Even though he's not done it, he's not the one that's done anything. But every time he escapes, it makes it look worse for him.
And it's completely believable that he'd run too, because no one's going to believe it.
Yeah, no one would. You wouldn't believe it.
I'm not even sure he believes it.
Indeed. Video, hang on. So yes, now these two guys. This is when he starts doing stuff now, like almost like he's grooming. His mentoring has reached a certain point where he says, "I'm going to have to start being the bad guy to beat the bad guy." So holding a gun on the cops, taking them hostage. Something he would never have dreamt of doing a mere few hours ago. So the training is working.
Yeah.
And of course, he's never going to expect what's going to happen next. Once again, making him look like he's the bad guy. But yeah, he is committing crimes by taking these guys hostage. But he's in for a bit of a. If you go down to the desert today, you're sure of a big surprise. And it'd be like, what the fuck? That's funny. And yeah, once again, who turns up? Yeah, the striking the match in the mirror. We'll get to that. Oh, we did get to that. He strikes the match on the mirror. I guess maybe the mirror wasn't there, and it was the metal behind it. When he sets fire to the gas.
Yeah.
Captain Etheridge. Yeah, Etheridge is an actor that was more recently was in The Walking Dead and Billions. I think he was in a lot of episodes of Billions. So a lot of these guys playing the sheriffs and the police, they've all done a lot of great stuff. So it was a really neat casting to pick a bunch of experienced guys, not just nobodies. Some of them had actually had starring or co-starring roles in some big films, particularly Gene Davis with the multiple Clint Eastwood movies. So they were no fodder. They weren't just extras, you know. Small roles, but great actors. And then because he comes up and shoots the shit out of the two cops. And then he drives on and leaves them, which is the other thing. He just drives off and leaves them. This is when he's starting to really get it. Like, this is the despair. He's in the Chateau Despair.
Yeah.
There's a really good scene here, and they talk about it in the documentary, where he's on the ground, he's in total despair, and there's a big dark cloud above. And I think it was pretty accidental that the cloud cleared and the bright sunshine came back out when they were filming this. And it was like he can see the light. He goes from actually holding the gun on himself to, okay, I got to take this guy out.
And that's where your cinematographer and director come in, because it's probably not what they had in mind for the scene, but when you get a shot like that, just like, nope, we're keeping that. That's in. Yeah,
they adapted it. I just love these landscapes. And these like Roy's, this is one I was actually, it probably is a real place, but Roy's as in Roy Batty of Blade Runner. If that was a deliberate reference, it's a pretty neat one. It probably wasn't, but you never know.
I wouldn't put it past a guy like Rutger Hauer to be like, I wonder if he's going to see this.
I mean, the filmmakers you'd think would want to capitalize a little bit on the Blade Runner notoriety of Rutger Hauer.
And the personality is so similar, too, of just this absolute madman who's out to destroy himself, essentially.
I like the fact that he comes in these places, he's absolutely filthy, stinking of gas, because he was in all that gas back in the gas station blow up.
Yep.
Looking like a freak, hair all over the place. I mean, if it was me and I was that guy, I'd be calling the cops straight away.
Yeah.
There's a real weirdo in here. And then he's got this is another classic scene. Absolute classic. I mean, this film has got 4 or 5 key scenes that are some of the best ever in thrillers. And again, he appears from nowhere, just quietly sits down. And look at he's driving him mad here. This is the whole gun bit. In fact, I do have that clip briefly.
Or I'll blow your brains through your ass.
The gun is empty.
Yeah? Yeah?
I love the way he goes, yeah. I think he mocks him with that. But it's the look on Jim Halsey's face when he realizes he's fucked. And then he pretends he's got the gun with a finger under the, because Halsey's so inexperienced, just accepts it.
Mm-hmm.
Such a great scene. So well written and brilliantly acted. And this was a fascinating bit for me, where he puts the pennies on his eyes, which is an old thing they used to do to dead people. Beware the pennies on your eyes. That's in the Taxman song with the Beatles. It was an old, long-standing. I don't know whether it was so they couldn't see, the dead couldn't see or something. I don't know.
It's an old Greek tradition. It was so that basically so you could pay the ferryman on your way to the afterlife.
Yeah, that's it. So he puts pennies on his eyes, which is a really interesting touch.
It's a great symbolism too of you're a damned soul.
Oh, absolutely! I thought it was a fantastic bit. I mean, possibly even improvised. I don't know, but
knowing Rutger, I would not be surprising.
Yeah, because it's Rutger being European, it's possibly more of a European thing. But,
and him just adding stuff to make the scene even more impactful and even creepier is just classic him.
Yeah, he as Vince says, forget which movie it was, but the film crew built a roadside diner for a movie, and it stayed there until somebody bought it and opened up for business. That's a pretty smart move. I'll have to find out. If anybody knows what it is, let us know. Sander Hammerslag mentioned Soldier of Orange as well. It's a great Dutch, pretty bleak, but a really great Dutch war movie that Rutger Hauer starred in. He was a big star in Holland before he moved to America. And in fact, he'd said, I can't do any more in Holland. I'm going to have to go. And he did act in Holland again, but he said, if I want to get more, I got to go to Hollywood. So should have used quarters for inflation. Excuse me. He's a very interesting guy, Rutger Hauer. Always put a lot into not necessarily method acting, but brought a lot to the role that he thought hard about it, studied them hard.
Even for a low budget film like this, you'd expect a guy with his kind of talent and fame at that point to really just kind of phone it in and be like, okay, I'll do the role. But he just absolutely chews up every scene he's in. Quite
the opposite. Yeah, he absolutely committed hard to it. Funnily enough, Jennifer Jason Leigh, who's not obviously in it all that much, C. Thomas Howell said that she too basically stayed in character as much as possible, even off camera, just because she really, really wanted to get it right, because she didn't have a lot of scenes in it, but she was committed to making it as good as it could be with that short space of time. She wasn't trying to be nasty to anybody else. She says, "I'm really going to stay in character." So she acted like she was this Nash girl with very little to go on. None of them had a lot to go on because the script didn't say much about their background or anything else that was happening to them. in their lives. It was just, here they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Diner. So it was the movie Diner. Davina says, where they built the diner. That's a good movie, actually, Barry Levinson. And yeah, Rutger Hauer and Nighthawks, again, showing what a great villain he could be. Actually, when he came to this and was offered this part, he said, I don't know if I want to do another villain. I'm trying to get more to good guy roles. And then he read it. He went, no, this is good. I got to do this.
He's kind of one of those guys like Christopher Lee that just has that naturally imposing presence and gravitas to him that he's too wasted on a good guy.
Yeah.
Because there's so few amazing villains out there that you really have to use the ones you get.
Yeah, you got to take those chances when you get them. And that's what when he read it, he said, no, I got to do that. I have to do this. But I'm going to do this I'm going to bring the intelligence and the kind of, not charisma, because charisma is a thing where usually you like people. Presence, I think, would be the word. This is Henry Darrow, who I was talking about earlier, was a big star of The High Chaparral and many other things. I didn't know until recently that he was actually Puerto Rican and had changed his name to Henry Darrow. So I was talking about the Latino stuff. Great actor, did a lot of great stuff. But I loved The High Chaparral. So he was one of my childhood, not heroes, but I loved that show, and I loved Manolito in that show that he played. So I'd completely forgotten he was in this, because obviously it's a cop, he's a sheriff, not a guy in a Western. But although Westerns influence this quite a bit, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially even just the backgrounds and stuff like that, like the scenery is classic Western.
Yeah.
Probably shot in a lot of the same places.
There's a lot of Western tropes in it, particularly spaghetti Western tropes. I don't think it's a huge influence on it, but I think there's some of that sensibilities, and certainly the framing of the landscapes a little bit. You could almost see Chuck Bronson standing there, and then two other gunmen, and kind of that kind of thing. So she really commits here, because she saves his life. Because Henry Darrow's character was, I like what he says, you just spat on my wrist.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. You spat my wrist. Wipe it off. Of course, if he reaches to wipe it off, he's going to shoot him for trying to take his gun. But she heard all that and intervenes. But again, she says, empty the bullets out of their guns. Don't take their guns. We're going to turn ourselves in somewhere else.
Well, yeah, because this was back in the day in the United States where if you shot a cop, you are never going to make it to the courtroom.
Yeah. I mean, if he had shot him there, there's undoubtedly there would have been no blowback for shooting him. And they would have pinned everything on him, because they still at this point don't know about Ryder. And this is where you start to get a little bit of a car chase sequence, which gives a little different extra flavor to this part of the movie. Excellently filmed. This is where I got the Mad Max vibes. I mean, from the first Mad Max movie, because there's a lot of that stuff in it.
Yeah.
Road chases with cops and gangs, rather than the Road Warrior onwards, where it's much more in the desert with freaky people. Yeah, he's telling her now to start shooting at cops. I don't think she wants to do that.
Yeah, I love how she looks at him too. It's like, are you insane?
That's right. If I start shooting at these cops, I said blow, Brian. Yes, I did say blow. Did I say blow? Somebody got blowed. Some pretty good high-speed stuff here, and that rather neat.
That poor gun. I think that's a Colt Python, actually.
Yeah, actually the internet firearms database has got all the info and that stuff. That's a great site. There's some pretty neat handguns in it, and the shotgun at the end is pretty neat. So at this point, I don't know what Ryder's thinking, but he must be pretty pleased with himself, because he's got our guy fleeing armed cops and shooting back at them.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically put this guy's head in the noose, and he's tightening it himself now, so you can just kind of sit back and watch the mayhem.
He's like my protege. But this, I do have a little clip of this spectacular ending to this. Love it. I love that music as well. The soundtrack is just so good. That electronics 80s soundtrack.
Yeah, it's identifiable as, when this came out. Like, yeah, no, this is the mid 80s.
Oh yeah. And there's some really haunting passages as well. Very quiet keyboard stuff.
Yeah.
Which is funny because, as I say, the guy that did the music, Mark Isham, started out as a jazz trumpet guy, but moved into the electronic stuff pretty quickly when it came about. And this was one of the first movies that they could digitally do the music on like an Apple or whatever, and on the set play the scenes back and put the music on it to see what it would sound like live, on set every night. So that worked. It worked brilliantly. They could, oh my God, we can actually see what it's like now. We don't have to wait weeks.
Yeah, or in the case of a lot of the actors and stunt people, they don't know how it actually turned out until they're done with production and see the release. Yeah, so they were doing live matching up of the music that had been done to the scenes, and then it was actually playing and adapting some of it to fit at the time every night. So that was pretty new to do that at that time. I think it was obviously when they were using these early Apple Macs, whatever. So they've wiped out 2 police cars, and God knows whether the guys are dead or not. So I'm just wondering how the law would look upon that, even though they were theoretically doing it for a good reason. And then our anti-hero turns up and has some of the finest pistol shooting, or revolver shooting, I think in this case, ever, where from a speeding car, one-handed, leaning out of the window, he manages to shoot a fast-moving helicopter. Yeah. Pretty damn good shooting. When I go down to the range, I find it hard to hit a target at 30 feet away, and I'm standing still. So that's good shooting right there. Especially, I love that pretty much all of the guns in this movie are revolvers and stuff like that. So it does have those like Old West vibes. It does. It's revolvers, a lot of them, yeah. Big ones too. Yeah. So now we've had some more carnage with the police force. Like, where do you go from here? We've tried turning ourselves in. We've tried being arrested. We've right, and you've now destroyed 3 police cruisers and a helicopter.
And killed God knows how many troopers.
Yeah, killed probably 5 or 6 deputies and maybe a state trooper or 2. This is not going to go well.
No, and we'll be blamed for several others in the police station and the other ones that were shot in the car by Ryder. They're lucky they're actually in a part of the road in the desert that they could actually find more places to go to.
Yeah.
Just by walking, because if they were in certain stretches, they would be screwed. As I was saying, some of this was filmed in Barstow, in the same areas that they filmed A Boy and His Dog. So if you were really anal about it, you could probably match up some of the backgrounds,
Probably, yeah.
So I'll just pause that to say thank you to our great friend Eric K. $5 super chat from our great friend Eric. Great stream, Brian. Listening in while getting some work done. Love this movie. Well, we do too, and thanks for being here, buddy, and thanks for listening. Appreciate it very much. Wait, Smiley says, wait, this isn't Detroit. So thank you for that, Eric. You two have to be the recipient of some kind of video goodie way down in the list. Next time it's something musical.
Don't go on! Pull him back! You're reading from the Bible!
Ugh.
Love
That was good. Love that bit there. That's metal. So thank you, Eric K. Good to see you here, mate. Hope your work is okay and you'll be going home for the night soon. As Smiley says, wait, this isn't Detroit. Welcome, Jamie G. Voltaic Blood. Saw this for the first time last year, mainly because I love Lee and how it was fun. It is. It's a fun movie. If you consider terrifying, suspense-filled, tension fun, and I do. So, I mean, genres are always a slippery thing, but I don't know if you can categorize this movie.
No, it's kind of really unique in multiple different ways. It's not really like anything else you've seen.
Yeah, not even like other car chase or road chase movies, because it has that unique villain in this one that's unlike anything else in any of those movies. Maybe Duel, but Duel was just a truck. You never saw the driver. That's the closest equivalent. Hey, Maddie's daddy. Hey, Steve. Good to see you, man. One Man Show doesn't think it's terrifying. He's a tough guy. What would be terrifying to you, One Man, though? What would be terrifying? Somebody stripping off in The Acolyte.
Yeah, right. Oh.
Just kidding.
That shit show, the better.
I think terrifying, it's more tense than terrifying, I would say. It's tense, it's suspenseful. The only bit that really got me, not terrified, but really hyper is about to come up. Which is, again, one of the most famous scenes in any movie, I think. Never mind in this genre that we love, this we call them genre movies, cult classics of, action, suspense, horror, whatever. In any movie, never mind that kind of movie, this scene is one of the most famous ever, I think. But once again, how does Ryder get into this room?
How does he even find them there?
How does he even find them? How does he get into the room? He's standing in the corner of the room. So he's clearly been standing there for a little while. Neither of them noticed him. Yeah. Did he just go through the wall somehow? Or that was like, how did he get in there? There was meant to be a love scene between the two, between Halsey and Nash, but both the actors said, nah, it doesn't work. It's not appropriate.
Yeah, it wouldn't fit right here. But.
Yeah, we're not in that kind of situation. It's not that kind of relationship yet. We're just thrown together because of this psycho. Love scene wasn't going to work, so they both said, let's not do it. We don't want to do it. So the director said, fine.
Although it would kind of make sense at this stage, because she already drew down on two deputies for him, so
Yeah, but there he is, standing in the corner of the room. No explanation as to how he got in there. I mean, yeah, she maybe nodded off and he sneaked in the door somehow. But then why was the door not locked? Etc., etc., etc. So, this is a good point by One Man Show. What are the odds that Ryder called in the extra sheriffs and deputies? I would not be surprised if he was calling them in to turn up every time Halsey ended up somewhere, because they just kept turning up. So
usually
yes,
right after him.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been awkward. A love scene would have been really awkward. I mean, I've got nothing against seeing Jennifer Jason Leigh with her kit off, but it just wouldn't. It would not have worked.
No, not in this kind of movie.
He's method acting as a hat stand. Nice one. I like that. You guys are the best. Funny. You guys are always funny. It's a psychological. He slithers in. A lot more psychological. He slithers in through under cracks. Well, I mean, that's where they kind of have that weird, is he a ghost thing?
Because you never see him turn up anywhere. There's no like scene where he pulls in or anything like that. He just appears.
Yeah, the only time you really even kind of see him standing anywhere is when he's standing hitching.
Yeah.
And again, that could just be turned up. You see him in cars, you see him in the police station, you see him in a bus, you see him in a cafe. He just seems to appear. But yeah, this was like, here we go. And this is the creepiest part of the movie. This is genuinely creepy.
Yeah.
Getting into bed with him. Yeah, this is creepy as hell. And now he wants to use her as bait. Oh, this creeped me out even when it first saw it. Like, you're screaming, "It's behind you!"
Right.
Behind you! No. Now he's hearing stuff. Yeah, you should have sussed this. Like, this guy's been so relentless, he's not just going to disappear.
Yeah.
But you had to just, I mean, I would have had if you're going to stay in one place, I would have all the furniture up against the door. The windows would be, you certainly wouldn't be nodding off. If you're going to go for a shower, they could have both gone for a shower.
Right.
Yeah. Now, the relief, there was a short-lived relief here. Relief when you think, the cops now realize that he's not the bad guy. It's very short-lived.
Right.
Hey, well, we're always happy and I'm always honored to have any crowd that was Bobby's crowd. It's always an honor for me to have you guys here hanging around, so watching and taking part. Thank you for being here. Thanks everyone for being here. These little shows we do talking about these obscure movies. I know there's a lot of bigger channels you can go watch. Thank you for being here, hanging out. I'd like to think we have a vibe. So yeah, now his relief at not being seen as the bad guy is tempered somewhat by the situation.
Right.
And of course, we're thinking at this point, well, it's a movie. There's going to be a happy ending. He's going to get out of here. Do something. Well, what do you suggest? It does show Jennifer Jason Leigh as fairly stretchy and bendy, though, I have to say.
Yep.
Yeah, first time watching it, you're like, okay, how's he going to get out of this? Somehow they're going to get out of this. How's it going to happen? And of course, it's really the whole point is yet another test of Halsey by Ryder. I'm going to have to go in there. Oh, shit. I'm always interested in Ryder's appearance in these scenes, this one in particular. He gives off the demeanor of a guy that's forced to be there. He's sweaty, he's tense, focusing, almost like he doesn't want to be here, doesn't want to be doing this, but he has to do it.
Yeah, he does kind of give off the air of, this is what you forced me to do this.
Yeah, it's like you're forcing me. Everyone's forcing me to do this. I don't want to do this, but I'm doing it. And it's not easy doing this. So here's a little tiny bit of this clip.
You useless waste.
Yeah, he's very disappointed in our guy when he gives him the gun and says, shoot me, and he won't do it. Quite rightly, he won't do it because the minute he does it, his foot is off the clutch. And I was wondering all the time, thinking, how is he going to get out of this? What's he going to do? Is there something he can do? Can he shoot his leg, but then his leg would come off the clutch anyway?
Yep.
I actually couldn't think of any. Watching it, you can't think of any way he's going to get out of it.
Yeah, right.
And we're right. Yeah, it's a great shot. But we're still always thinking, Hollywood, happy ending. Yeah, I think one man's posed a good question. The scene where Ryder shoots the two troopers in the car in the front and Jim has a revolver in the back, he doesn't start shooting back. I guess he's just so shocked all the time. Like, this isn't a hero who's in command of difficult situations. He's a shocked kid who hasn't a clue how to react in these scenarios.
Yeah.
Who would? I mean,
that's the whole point of the exercise, I think, is he's trying to see just what this kid is willing to do to save himself.
Yeah. And Smiley says there's easier ways to look taller. Try kitten heels, Jennifer. And then just this shocking moment. And I'm thinking, even after I was watching it the first time, I'm watching and it goes on, I'm thinking, well, maybe we didn't see them rescuing her, and that's a surprise later. She's, yeah. As I say, they should have played Joy Division's Love Will Tear Us Apart.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that would be that little bit of dark comedy that really just kind of sells it.
They should have had that on the radio in the truck. Love Will Tear Us Apart. As opposed to Captain and Tennille, love will keep us together. That would have worked too, though. That would have been... Yeah. But you see the absolute shock and there's an almost zombified state of Halsey.
Yeah.
It's like broken down. So now he's been broken down, finally, which is what Ryder's often been attempting to do. But yeah, no birth certificate, no fingerprint record. Implies the no fingerprint thing, obviously, he's not been in jail, hasn't been in the military, unless it was some secret ops thing, I don't know. No clue to his background of any kind. I'm surprised.
It's really only at this point do we realize that he's an actual physical being, because until the truck, nobody interacts with him.
Yeah, now they are interacting, and both guys are in the room at the same time and soon. So that kind of got rid of the it's in Halsey's head theory.
Yeah.
Still doesn't mean he's not a ghost.
True.
Nowadays, it would be even harder to accept that the guy had zero footprint on the world of any kind.
Right.
Unless he was a spook. Like CIA type spook. Gone nuts. It doesn't help. Well, it helps, I guess, that he's blonde-haired, blue-eyed, good-looking and tall.
Yeah.
Not some twisted, scarred psycho. So he's a beautiful-looking guy, handsome-looking guy. You would think would have all the opportunities in the world that would present, and here he is being this complete nihilistic psycho. The spit. I mean, he doesn't even react badly to that. He's like, oh, look. Others tried to again say that was some kind of gay allegory, but I think they were reaching.
Yeah, that's a we don't want to like this movie, and here's a thing I can stretch into watch.
Not only is it violent, which we don't like, but we're going to assign motivations to the writers and producers and actors that don't exist. But here they're now. This is where they get into the real movie tropes. We're screaming at these guys. Don't ignore him while he's on the bus. Don't imagine because he's in chains that he's safe. I mean, he should have been tied to the floor. Straight jacket him, something, do anything you can to don't just, he's got some chains on, we'll throw him in the back. It'll be fine.
No, after what you just watched this guy do and all the things you now know he's responsible for, or all he's accusing him of, I'd have taken him out back and put a bullet in him.
Exactly. Well, I would never have just said, we've got a couple of guys with shotguns. We'll stick them in the back of this with a chain on. We've seen in so many movies people unlocking things like that. And that, again, he does that. That speaks to his skill set.
Yeah, and there are ways to do that you do get taught. So it's entirely possible. This guy is some kind of sick, twisted veteran or something like that.
I think he's like a dark ops spook who's gone nuts almost. Is my closest approximation to his skill set. Because he knows about weapons. He can unlock that. He knows about police procedures and stuff. He's great at surveillance. He's a great shot. He's got a lot of skills.
Yeah.
That a random psycho just might not have. Plus psychological skills, perhaps, and how to read people and make people react. So he's got all those skills. Where did he get them? What role? That, to me, speaks something about his previous potential.
I love that this movie's response to those questions that are going to be brought up is, yeah, he does, doesn't he? And then never says anything else about it.
Mm-hmm. So once again, our hero is deciding to... he's learned, though. Can't trust the cops to deal with this. You can't trust the law. I've got to go deal with this guy. And therefore does things like holding up another cop at gunpoint to do that. Yeah. And off he jolly well goes. At least he didn't shoot the cop.
Yeah, and of course it turns out he makes the complete right call because
correct
the cops
call.
do not, in fact, have this.
Now, I must admit, I was expecting a fairly lengthy car chase sequence at this point in the movie, but it wasn't really. It was pretty to the point once he catches up with them. So he's busy freeing himself. We don't really see a lot of that, apart from the fact he then shoots the cops with that. I don't know, that shotgun, the pump action one or whatever it is, or is it pump action? I don't know. Lever action.
That's the fun thing with the SPAS 12. It's both. It can be pump or semi-auto.
Yeah.
And that thing is in so many movies, it's not even funny because it was new in the 80s and it looked really cool. That's literally the only reason.
And it does look cool, but he escapes from his chains, shoots the cops, and shoots the back door just as our guy appears. Again, timing.
Yep.
Like, not 5 minutes before our guy appears, just as he appears. And then that fantastic, and I tried to clip bits of this to show, and it just got copyright claimed everything. He jumps out of the back of the thing through the windscreen. Surprise! Halsey wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Right through the windscreen, and then I just love it. It's the guy's indestructible. He slams the brakes on. He flies out into the road again. But he's also he could finish Halsey off at any point. He doesn't. He just shoots at the lights, shoots at the window, instead of just walking up and finishing him. This is great. The way this is filmed, he looks fantastic. because he wants Halsey to reach his true potential. Which is, first of all, finally getting the truck moving. Detroit has never looked drier. Yeah, actually, RoboCop coming up at the end would have been good.
That would have been great.
That would have been great. RoboCop marches in from the side. So he's knocks him over with a truck. Just once, by the way. If it was me, I would have gone back and forward a few times.
Yeah.
He goes on once, and he's twisted and whatever, lying on the ground, and he thinks, okay, let's go have a look. He's probably done now. Double tap. I love this the fact it's filmed in this bleak landscape, isn't it? That's where the Western look comes in. And this is interesting because he doesn't just like shoot him to make sure. He goes up and he prods him, and then he kind of takes the end of the shotgun and rubs his hair, almost like there's some. That's a weird little thing that he did.
Yeah.
With the end of the gun, the hair, like not affectionate, but I don't know how to describe why he did that. And like rather than kicking the shit out of him, and then like the Terminator, he's up again. This time, all he's got is the chain, throws it at him, but he's saying, "I'm still here. You haven't finished yet.
Yep.
You're hitchified." And bang, he finally gets to the point. Shoots him 3 times, I think. Definitely not coming back from that one. Yeah.
And again, it's got that very Western vibe of, that climactic showdown between good and evil at the end.
It does.
Just like every great Western has.
Yeah, and he's finally stopped him. Finally, what a freaking awesome movie. Right down to the last second. It's
I like how they just end it there. There's no preamble or any kind of any kind of epilogue to the story. It's just
no cops turn up, no post-mortem, no 5 years later, and he's happy as Larry. But he's a very different person from the one that started the movie, and I think Rutger Hauer's John Ryder would be proud of him for that. He's like at the end, he's going, "Great, you're finally going to do this."
Right?
Yeah. It does, yeah. Jason came back. That's right. Jason always comes back. But it's just a flesh wound. Get back up. Your arm's off. Bleak, get straight out. No messing around with aftermath. I loved that about this movie. I loved the fact it didn't waste any time. Maybe a little minute or two when they were in the restaurant scenes with Nash and Halsey. But there's no, here's where everybody came from, and there's no, here's where everyone's going afterwards. Starts here, ends there, and a ton of shit happens in between, which requires no explanation.
Yep.
It's just psycho chases and torments good guy till good guy finishes him.
No idea why, no explanation given or needed.
I mean,
you're just along for the ride.
Simple is often the best, I find. That's why I love this movie.
This movie takes show, don't tell very, very seriously, and that's a brilliant thing.
It does. It's show, don't tell, and it's keep it simple, stupid. So it's keep it very simple. Series of set pieces along the road. An enigmatic protagonist, a young enigmatic and that antagonist, a young protagonist that has to have an arc. His arc is purely scared young kid killer ends up as righteous killer in the end. That's his arc. There's no other arc. That's it. Fucking love this movie. It is one of the greatest movies of the 80s, and in terms of its genres, one of the greatest movies of whatever genre you would consider it to be in. It always comes to my mind when people say, what are some of the most interesting and tension-filled movies you've ever seen? This one's pops right into my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't. People always say, well, what's your top 5? What's your top 10? And I always have like 1,800 movies in my top 10. Yeah. This one is pretty close to the top. It's a movie I've always returned to over the years. When I first saw it, I couldn't believe some of the things that happened in it. And I went around talking about it for years to people, and they went, I've never heard of that movie. What movie? The Hitcher.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting look, and there's a lot of stuff like that on the low budget end that's really, really good. There's a movie that came out in about, I think, 2011, starring Paul Walker, called Running Scared. That's absolutely amazing. Kind of like this.
Yeah, I like that movie too.
Yeah, my buddy showed it to me one night when we were at work, and I was just like, "This is amazing."
It is. It's also like a lot of the movies we've done, mate. The 70s and 80s stuff. It only grows better over time. At the time, it was seen as by the usual people. Oh, that's just low budget schlock to satisfy bloodthirsty people who love explosions and whatever. Nothing, and it isn't anything like that. And so it didn't do that well. It's now, I would say, regarded by many people as almost a masterpiece in its approach.
Well, a lot of stuff is just never appreciated in its time. One of my favorite examples of that is Firefly.
Oh, I love it.
Fox screwed that show over as much as they could, but it became a cult classic because it was just a good concept done well.
I love Firefly. Always have. Yeah, it's such. Yeah. Sometimes it takes something years later before people truly appreciate what they had.
Or in the case of that show, just buying it on DVD and being able to see the episodes in order the way they were supposed to be shown, rather than on random nights of the week, all over the place, out of order. So nobody had a clue what was happening in the show or why.
Yeah, well, that's right. Let's show episode 3 first, or whatever.
Yeah, and I think the last episode they showed was the pilot.
Yeah,
it's like what?
Bizarre. Why? So you got to watch them in the right order.
Yeah.
I've got a wonderful box set of those Fireflies. I loved it. I loved the movie too, Serenity. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's my kind of science fiction. But the movies, we've talked about movies like A Boy and His Dog and Colossus and other movies, very lowly, not successes at the time, but I think later have been come to regarded as something pretty special.
And all of them kind of have this, the good guys don't win in the end. Kind of, and
they give it a good go though.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, they try and everything. They try everything they know how, but especially like the Colossus, where it's just like, no.
Although some people may regard the giant supercomputer as the real good guy. It's going to bring peace and tranquility. A Boy and His Dog, the good guys won, and they ate the girl to prove it.
True, yeah. She was not anywhere near.
Strike one for the patriarchy.
Still one of the best endings I've ever seen. I had to rewind that when I saw it when I was watching it for the show, and I was just like, wait a minute. No, they can't mean that. No,
she had very good taste. So I'm going to end the poll in the chat, which has been a little tribute to C. Thomas Howell, who obviously Rutger Hauer is immense in this movie, but he's great in it too. So we will end the C. Thomas Howell's finest hour poll, and then we shall see what we get. And the poll has disappeared somewhere. Now I've ended it. Where did it go? I hope it's going to come back because I didn't look at the figures. I just said end poll and it's disappeared. Oh, God, no. Maybe. Oh, here we go. It's fine. It's appeared. It has appeared. All I got to do is get it to come up on screen. 33 votes. Well, thank you for all 33 of you who voted on that poll. If I had a producer, it would be much more effective. Pope, you're hired.
Oh, no.
Lack of a producer has always been my problem. Right, here it goes. So, which movie was C. Thomas Howell's finest hour? Of the four I could pick, The Hitcher, 33%, Red Dawn, 27%, The Outsiders, 27%, and the movie they couldn't make now, coming in last, although it's a funny movie, at 12%, Soul Man. The Hitcher just tops that finest hour for C. Thomas Howell. A man who's luckily, majority of the people involved with this movie are still with us, even some of the older guys that were the troopers and whatever actors. Rutger Hauer is not, but C. Thomas Howell, thankfully, he's alive and well. He's my age, so thank you for voting in that poll. The Hitcher does come top, and I would have voted for The Hitcher, much as I love Red Dawn.
And if you asked me last week before I'd seen the movie, it would have been Red Dawn.
Yeah.
But no, this is absolutely the better movie of the two.
I think it's just the most impactful at the end of the day because it's the most unique.
Yeah, Red Dawn is fun and entertaining, but this is deep and impactful in a lot of ways.
There's not, and it doesn't require any outside geopolitics or any of that stuff. It's just some men and cars and guns. Two men, some cars and some guns. And one woman who turns into 4 or 5 women at one point. So he can't be bargained with. He can't be reasoned with. He doesn't feel pity, remorse, or fear. And he absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead. Oops, wrong movie. But not quite the wrong movie because he is like that.
And I got to imagine being filmed in '85, there had to be some intention there because it's right after the first Terminator, and he was such a great antagonist in that movie that you'd almost, like, especially for something like this, you want something like that.
You do, absolutely you do. It's Ryder is just such a great creation. He's cunning, brutal, but intelligent, perceptive, has a great knowledge of psychology. Everything about him is just so well-rounded. Played brilliantly. Great character. One for the ages, I would say. The Hitcher is a movie for the ages. Hopefully people will continue to celebrate it. Try not to watch some of the crappier versions. There's a version out there which I think was shown on HBO TV because they were producers of it, and it's like a 4:3 screen, very dark, not a great print. You got to look for the much better Blu-ray prints, particularly this collector's edition one, pristine condition. They actually didn't, for many years, they didn't have a decent copy of it to transcribe onto digital media. They had to use a German print, which is why you see actually the version I ripped for the subtitles and the stills actually is a German subtitle. That was the 35mm print that was the best one they had until Warner Brothers finally dug one up because they've inherited this through various rights changes. They finally found a 35mm print in their archive, which is the one I think they've used to transcribe for more recent.
And a studio the size of Warner Brothers, obviously they don't even know what they have because they bought up so many studios over the years, and it just gets transferred into the archive somewhere and gets lost to history.
Indeed, but
somewhere. We're just never going to find it.
That's right. So there it was. Great movie, The Hitcher. Absolutely love it. Wanted to talk about that for a long time. Pope, my friend, I sincerely thank you for joining me.
No problem, man. This was a really great one to look at, especially because I had never seen it before. So I'm kind of looking at it with fresh eyes and with no expectation of what's going to come, and it was really great.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, mate. Yeah, hopefully it's a movie that will stick with you and you'll watch again in the future. Before we say our goodbyes to the chat, anything in particular you would like to plug?
Well, you can find me at 11 p.m. Eastern every Saturday night over on Rumble, where I do my Midnight Mass stream, which is like a 2-hour radio show where I play some, hard rock, heavy metal, some of the stuff that I'm listening to, some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about if we're doing a music episode, or just, a band I think that more people need to listen to. A lot of the newer stuff and a lot of the darker stuff that you will never hear on the radio or even places like Sirius, but I think is really great. So hopefully you guys will join me for that. And then Sundays we do Wrath and Glory over on the Verdant Mint channel with Trucker Rob. So we get up to some interesting shenanigans with that.
Yeah, I'm just searching for your Rumble channel right now so I can throw it up on the screen, because I haven't thrown up any links or anything, unfortunately, mate. My production skills are terrible.
Yeah, right. Where's our robot when you need him?
Yeah, so there's Pope Metallicus over in Rumble. If I find text, I do have somewhere on here. You see, I can do this stuff. There you go.
Hey,
hey, it works. So yeah, go subscribe to Pope on Rumble. The Midnight Masses are great fun. Fantastic show.
If you can't listen live, they make great soundtracks for if you're working or on a long drive or whatever.
They absolutely do. And it's funny, it's I've followed you several times on Rumble and I keep finding I'm unfollowed. That's a bit weird. So anyway, Pope's over in Rumble there. Check him out. Also, I'd like to thank Joe for being here. And I'm going to take this off the screen. Woo-hoo. While I find Joe's stuff. Talk amongst yourselves. So Joe's Atmosphere, the hardest working man on YouTube. He's also got a great website. So go subscribe to Joe. Joe, I noticed you were saying your sister's lost her house. Our deepest sympathies to her. Hope you and everybody else is physically safe, though. Property is bad. It's bad when you lose that, but physical safety and health is most important. Hoping everybody down there stays safe. But yeah, check out Joe. He's got so many shows that even I lose track. But lots of fun, and he's a great artist as well. The Privateer stuff looks fantastic. Great friend of ours. Thanks for being here earlier, buddy. Appreciate it. Now I can switch that off. There you go. I got one for me. So on the channel, that 70s Rock Fan, we're up to something like 1,554 subs and about 235 over in Rumble. So YouTube and Rumble, both doing well. I'd like to do more content, but I'm an old lazy man, which is part of the problem. However, there's some stuff on there recently that we've done. Obviously, these great movie shows. We had Rock and Roll High School last time. Hitcher here this time. Recently did yet another of my Korean movie reviews for a great Korean movie called Escape, which is one of my favorite movies of the year so far, about a guy trying to get out of North Korea. Great action thriller. Also a little movie about Vinyl from the Vault, which is an occasional series I do. This one was about a picture disc from the band The Corgis. Don't Look Back. I'm working hard on a Underlooked Bands video about a band called Stackridge, who were an English progressive rock band of the 70s, who then morphed into the Corgis, who were a bit more of a skinny tie new wave thing. That will feature not only talk about their career, but also interviews with Alan Granny Grange, who people will know from the Rowdies shows, and Peter Donovan, who was their buddy, de facto band member and road manager for many years in the 70s, who also road managed Jeff Hotel for many years, and he's interested to come on and talk about that on a live show. So watch out for that Stack Ridge one when I finally get round to editing the mountains of material I've got. So yeah, stuff is going on. I'm hopefully going to another Korean movie in a few days called Hijack 1971. And memberships are coming. I know I keep promising it, but they are coming. After all the stuff in place, I just need to pick the time to hit the button. So yeah, thanks everyone for your support on the channel. Appreciate it very, very, very much. Just switch that off. Oh, there you go. It looks like our great buddy Snowdub made it in, and good to see you, my friend. Check out the Cotton Council Friday, Saturday nights, and other shows that Snowdub does. So for $2, tip to help restock 70s icy hot supply. Icy hot. Well, mentioning icy hot then means I have to play you a suitable video that somewhat addresses that content. It's going to be this.
I'm a dirty white boy. Damn dirty white boy. Just a dirty white boy.
I think of Snow and Joe when I think of that. It wasn't hot-blooded, but it's close enough. Thanks, Snow, my friend. Good to see you, buddy. And there was one more from our great friend Eric K. And these do keep the lights on, everybody. Thank you, because I'm an old retired guy, so not a lot of cash coming in. $5 from Eric K. Thanks, buddy. 70s. I do not think anyone has seen your favorite movie, A Boy and a Sheep. Well, it's still in production. I'm still working on it. It's a method piece, so it takes me a while. Takes me a while to go these method movies with that kind of content.
Keep getting faster as the years go by.
They do, and I keep getting slower. But for that, you do have to get a clip to thank you for that $5, and it has to be this.
Boy, that was really something. I never thought it could be like this. Never in my wildest imagination. You're really something special.
What a lucky man. Thanks, Eric K. Next week's show, there will be a show next week. In fact, I think on Saturday night, Bram and I are going to do the long-threatened final season episode of Bourbon and Boarding, which for various reasons we never got round to, but since the Cup got one, we're going to do a wrap-up one. We're just talking about that and some of the trades, and look forward to next season already. And then we'll take a hiatus for the rest of the summer on Bourbon and Boarding, but we need to do that one wrap-up. So that should be this Saturday night. Next Monday's show, I have a couple of ideas. One might be a cult comedy crew, and the other might be a Canon Film Club. I do have a music one lined up too, but so the next few shows I'm planning out. So I'll let everybody know as soon as possible, but we will have a show next Monday for sure. And I can promise you it'll be a lot of fun, whatever it is. So with that, I once again want to thank everybody on YouTube and Rumble and on Twitter for watching. Hope you had fun, because that's what it's all about on this channel, is just having some fun and talking about stuff we love. Stay safe, everyone down in the Gulf area. Everybody else, I hope you have a great rest of the week. On Eric's he's just prolonging the agony for you all. We like it when it's prolonged. Thank you, Eric. You're a great man. 70s was disappointed with Baba Black Sheep. He did not realize it was about World War II, not a sheep. You've just shattered my illusions. You bastard. You shattered my illusions. So
I was not fondling my lambswool sweater. What would I do something like that for?
But I would like to thank everyone that's been here in the chat, everyone that super chatted, all the mods. So Davina, Eric, D-Bud, Martin. Thank you all for your modding efforts. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Davina, for the facts. You see, it always takes a bit longer for that thing to pop up on the screen, but it works, strangely enough. All the people that are new, there was a couple of new people here, I think, in the chat today. Thank you for joining. Good to see you. Subscribe, like, share, all that shit I'm terrible at promoting. Have a great week, everyone. Love you all. Appreciate it very much. Stay well, and as Pope would agree, keep on rocking.